Mikel Arteta has given us an update on Victor Gyokeres, and I'm afraid to say that it is not good. When Gyökeres came off at halftime against Burnley, I thought that his injury, the injury that he sustained, was due to the fact that he got slapped in the face and that it was just precautionary. But he has not traveled with Arsenal squad to Prague for our game in the Champions League against Slavia Prague. And this is what Mikel Arteta has said. He is definitely not available versus Slavia Prague. He hasn't trained today, and we need to do some tests and scans in the next few days to understand the extent of the injury. It is a muscle injury, and we've suffered quite a few of those over the last couple of months. So, yeah, it could be anything from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. And although Arsenal are having an excellent season and the team is a lot deeper and we feel like we have all these options, we have sustained a lot of injuries so far. We went into the last game that we played with, Jesus, Odegaard, Kai, Madueke out. And now Zubamendi and Gyökeres are dealing with things. And we really are at the stage right now where we need some players to come back. Now, I think that I try to stay out of the conversations around why is this happening, because I'm not on the training pitch. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. So I feel a little bit uneasy about saying, well, it's something that's happening on the training ground. But when somebody like Thierry Henry asked these questions earlier on in the season, he was lambasted for it, but he actually has a good knowledge of what potentially could be the reason, because he's been a player and a coach. And I do wonder, with the amount of knee injuries that we're getting and muscle injuries, is it just that players are playing so many minutes with so little rest, or could Arsenal be doing something a little bit different? Now, I want to park that to the side. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section about that. I'm sure you guys have some thoughts, but I'm thinking going forward, what are we going to do? Because with Gyökeres out, there is no striker. Of course, the natural thing that Arteta is probably going to do is move Marino into that position, but that's not the best. I think that Arsenal are crying out for another international break, and we do have another international break coming up. We have an international break coming up after the Sunderland game. Sunderland, we play on November 8th, and then we do not play another Premier League game until the 23rd of November. And we need that so badly in order to get some players back. We just need to just cobble everything together until then. And we're kind of in a fortuitous position right now because we play against Slavia Prague, and they're not the best team, or Slavia Praha, sorry. They're not the best team in the world. Now, I'm not taking them for granted and saying that we're just going to slap them for 6. But if you had to be in a situation where you don't have your best players available, this is probably the type of team that you'd want to play against. And then in the Premier League, we have Sunderland away from home. That was by no means an easy game. But again, if you were to choose a game that you could play against a certain level of opposition when you don't have your strongest team, this would be one that you would choose. Beyond that, once we come back from international break, we have that week of death where we play Tottenham, we play Bayern, and we play Chelsea. We're going to need to have way more players available during that week because we're going to need to rotate, and we're also going to want to put out strong sides. We can still put out a strong squad or a strong team against Slavia Praha, but the team that we're going to end up putting up against that team is probably not the type of team that we want to have to play going into that next stretch of games, right? So some players are going to need to come back, and I'm really hoping that Victor Gyokeres is not out for a significant amount of time because he was just getting into a groove. We had talked about this after the Burnley game, that was his best 45 minutes in an Arsenal shirt. He looked great. His hold-up play was really good. His passing was crisp. He got his goal. Everything that you wanted from a number 9 was all put together. All of the performances that he had up until this point, it's like everything came together in that game. And it would be so disappointing for him to have to almost start over, or, be out for a certain amount of time and then have to put that all back together right after he had those moments. And I think about, Madueke and Odegaard as well. Those are 2 players that were just coming into a good vein of form. Think about when Madueke came out against Manchester City. We were just raving about how good he looked in an Arsenal shirt, how he looked like he was starting to put those things together. and the goals and assists were about to come, boom, knee injury. Odegaard finally looking like his old self, putting Gyökeres in on goal, looking so much more like the Odegaard from 2 seasons ago. Boom, injured just like that. Same thing with Gyökeres. I'm really hoping that this is not a long-term thing and it's just a couple of weeks, but that international break is looking really tasty right now. Again, we have a really deep squad, and I'm so happy that Berta and Arteta and the whole club has put that together, but we have sustained a lot of injuries. I would love to see a chart to see where we kind of sit in the table of the most injuries, because I feel like we're up there. I feel like we're up there, and we've lost some really significant players since the season has started. Going into this difficult period, the festive period, we really need some players to come back. I am dying to see Kai Havertz. I am dying for Madueke to get back fit, right? Even Jesus, I'm like, what do you have for me? Because these players are playing lots of minutes with not a lot of rest. I'm thinking of like Gyökeres played a lot of time without any rest because there was no Kai Havertz. And we get into these cycles with some of these players. Like I think about Ben White and Timber, where one player gets injured and then that player that replaces them has to play a long period of time in and out of injuries as well. They break down, and then the player that's recovered has to come and do the same thing. And we really don't want to get into that with Kai Havertz and Gyökeres. We really don't want to have to get into that. Now, with Marino, I'm pretty sure he'll be good enough against Slavia Prague and against Sunderland. But if I'm being totally honest, Kai Havertz is going to need, and Gyökeres are going to need to be back. You know, I think Marino does a good job up there, but that's definitely not what you want to see going into a more difficult run of fixtures. So yeah, but if you want to, but again, what Mikel Arteta has said is that Gyökeres needs some scans to see how severe the injury is. It's going to take the next couple of days to understand the extent of the injury. He is not available for Slavia Prague. Also, Zubamendi isn't available as well. And we just have to wait and see. But we know that these muscle injuries can be anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. We're definitely hoping for the former, right? So yeah, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel and get into the comments and let me know how you would manage the next couple of games, knowing that certain players are not going to be there, and what you're thinking about this Gyökeres injury. Do you think that there's something going on the training pitch that we could do better? Or do you just think it's just the nature of modern football where we're just going to see more injuries due to the amount of football that's being played? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.